Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1797 of our daily content grind. It is once again time to talk about some Skybound books. You know how this works around here. A single book does not give me enough content to make a single video, so we're going to summarize two books into one. Today, we are talking about issue 34 and issue 35. As usual with these books, I would love to do it one at a time, but there's only so much going on. And as we found out last time, sometimes there's next to nothing going on in these books, and sometimes there's too much going on with these books. I'm happy to say that these two, 34 and 35, are actually something of a breath of fresh air, as the pacing on these actually feels decent. We're not trying to do too much at once, and while things are still overall slow, and I'm waiting for the right things to finally get developed and come to fruition, we actually have this nice little flow to these two books, so we can go through it. Now, as usual, I'm going to keep my usage of the art from the books to a minimum. I'm going to use covers and free images from previews as much as I can, but there are some very specific events we have to come over. So this is not a replacement for picking up reading the books. They are still good books. We've had times with them, but they are still good books, and I want these books supported. So let us get into our discussion. So this is going to blend stories between the two issues. So this is not going to be completely chronological what goes on. First, let's take a look at General Flag's side of the story, and this is actually kind of good. Like, Flag gets some decent time in these two issues, and it's not wasted. It's actually good development stuff. He's not happy about Optimus's decision to relinquish the Matrix, the fact that they are technically not Autobots anymore, because now we're going to hurt the PR that we've been building up. It's a funny reaction to what Optimus has chosen to do recently. Not an unwarranted one, though. But overall, the Alliance seems to be pretty good. Flag is one of those characters where, like, I'm not sure how much of a bad guy he actually is underneath all of this. But for the most part, he seems to be on the level for these two issues. In particular, the moment on screen right now is highlighted. So he recognizes Spike. And he remembers Spike's brother, like the astronaut who died and led to Sparkplug's depression. So he acknowledges that, offers his condolences. It's a nice bit of humanity from Flag. And I feel like when he's like stern military type hanging around with all these robots, I feel like that is something that has been missing. It's just like that little dose of like, oh yeah, there actually is a human being in here that probably cares. Like, that's actually pretty good to see. So yeah, I like that inclusion. I like getting to see just like a little bit of Flag that is, you know, a little bit more normal, a little bit more on the level. So we need to talk about the reveal, the debut in issue 34, and it does revolve around Flag, because this was the main cover of the issue. It's Dr. Arkeville, probably one of the most infamous human villains in the original Transformers cartoon. So yeah, like, it's actually kind of surprising to see him here. You don't get to see like the human villains ever given much attention in these books, much less taken straight out of the cartoon, right? Like, they didn't try redesigning him in the least. It's just straight up Arkeville. He looks the way he's always looked, like Dr. Wily had cybernetic surgery. So this cover is a lie. What happens here happens in exactly one frame of the book. Flag easily breaks out of this and basically just verbally runs down Arkeville for even attempting this on a trained soldier when he is a scientist who is probably pushing 60 or 70. Like, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? And apparently it was just because of like some tiff they had the last time that they encountered each other. I mean, it's a nothing burger of a cover. This cover is literally out to just shock and lie to you. This is like literally the first scene you see of Arkeville is just him grabbing Flag by the neck from behind, just like you see here, and then that's broken up, and then it ends in like 2 pages. Like, it's nothing. And whatever animosity led to it was immediately washed under the bridge. Like, this is like literally just, it exists for a shock moment, just so this cover can exist. It's a little manipulative, but oh well. Yeah, I don't expect him to stay on the good guy side forever. It's Arkaville. Like, look at him. He's going to be a villain at some point. There's no avoiding that. So the reason for Arkaville's introduction will become clear, but we have to talk about the other storylines in the book first. For instance, so all those explosions that Cliffjumper and Shredhead went off to investigate in the previous issue, Combaticons on the attack. So, obviously not the best of situations. To be fair, they put up a decent fight. Shredhead is biting off way more than they can chew. I think Shredhead forgets that they are a single person and not like 7 or 8 individual people like they used to be before their sparks were merged. So they kind of directly threaten Bruticus of all characters. Like, that's not a brilliant idea. It's not a brilliant idea, and it doesn't go well. Shredhead gets the ever-loving slag beaten out of them. This is one-sided as one-sided is, and like Shredhead is taunting the entire time, just criticizing his fighting style. Oh, you're big and slow, and then immediately gets a fist slammed down on him that he made no attempt to dodge. So apparently slow, but still fast enough, apparently. Can we talk about scale for a second here? I know G1 as a cartoon was not great about Combiner scale either. They really should not have been as giant and towering as they were, you know, considering every individual bot that made up, like, any of the Combiners were still shorter than Megatron was. Look at this. Brawl is 10 times the size of Shredhead. This is just a little bit exaggerated. Like, I feel like when inevitably, I feel like when Titans come around and we get like Metroplex, you know, Tripticon, etc., I feel like their menace is going to be taken down because we've dealt with characters about as big as they're supposed to be. But this fight does at least end on a somewhat victory, because these guys are just, I don't know, they're made of the same stuff as Rita's monsters and Power Rangers. Like, when you slash them in the right spot, they just spontaneously explode. So, chain reaction, whatever. Yeah, Bruticus cannot handle a single stab to the head with that sword. So, Onslaught explodes and is left for dead by the other Combaticons. Shredhead is barely clinging to life. They are in this state. So while, yeah, they took out a Combiner, Cliffjumper took out a Combiner by himself, technically. Yeah, Shredhead is in really, really bad shape. And I do like that we're finally putting, like, some kind of limiter on him, so I've been critical of this character as it felt very Mary Sue when first written in. Felt like they were overtly powerful for what they were and put in way too good of a position. This knocks Shredhead down a peg and hopefully learns him I'm gonna get messing this up. Hopefully learns them some kind of humility, because this was arrogance. Shredhead ended up like this because of their own arrogance. But we have solutions here. So the aerial bots are out of contact range, which so they cannot fly. They cannot fly Shredhead directly to Wheeljack for repair. We'll get to why in a bit. But Flag actually has a solution, which is, here's the weird solution. Okay, so the solution here, Wheeljack is at his lab, which is on the fragment of Cybertron that's out in the ocean, right? The Decepticons used to use as a base. Okay, so Wheeljack's over there, and then Shredhead's corpse is over here, and they need to get these two together. So Flag's idea is to send a transport after Wheeljack, pick him up, and then take him to the midway point where Arkeville can keep Shredhead alive long enough for Wheeljack to arrive. And they'll just take Shredhead themselves by like a little flight helicopter over here. And somehow, this is faster than just flying Shredhead directly to Wheeljack. Because, because there's a transport that has to go all the way over here and then all the way back. But I don't know. It was a little bit convoluted. I don't think it necessarily makes sense. But we'll go with it. So what's Wheeljack in the middle of that's kept him so distracted that, he doesn't know any of this is going on? He is in the midst of invention, which is what Wheeljack does best. So yeah, for one, he's building an exosuit, which is for help with rebuilding Chicago. Wheeljack is getting a lot of the credit for how well Chicago is being reconstructed. So apparently he's the one leading the restoration effort. And because of his intervention, because of his techniques and technology, not only is Chicago getting rebuilt way faster than they ever expected, but it's getting rebuilt with Autobot tech, meaning it's a far more advanced and high-tech city than it was before, to the point where people are starting to call it Autobot City. Doesn't that sound familiar? If Chicago transforms into Metroplex, I'm going to lose it. You just stand there just looking at his new design going, why is Wrigley Field his left knee? It'd be hysterical, don't get me wrong. But no, that's what's been going on for Wheeljack. So he's got a lot of other like little pet projects. The exosuit is one of them. It's kind of neat to see that, we're going to... I feel like even though this is like the exosuit is like Spike's thing, Carly being far more the action hero type of this mix, I feel like she's going to be the one that ends up in this suit eventually. But apparently he's also working on whatever he found in that cabinet in the previous issue. So remember that previous issue where he like opened up a cabinet and was really surprised at some big red glowy thing he found? Well, in this issue, he's talking to them. I guess when you're just a mad scientist character, you can just talk to yourself and only come across half insane. So he's talking to these little red glowy things. And he makes it feels like there's more than one from the way he's talking, but he describes it just as a pet project. So he's working on multiple things in his lab. My expectation here is that what he found were sparks. And while they're glowing red, which is a little bit ominous, we've seen red sparks before. Maybe there's something to them. We don't know. But I feel like his little pet project is to mix it in with what he saw when the Ark teleported away, which was the fossils. Remember? He was inspired, remember how amazed he was seeing fossils of dinosaurs for the first time? Well, we never really picked up on that. So this feels like how they are going about that. I feel like he's looking at some sparks that the Decepticons had just tucked away here. And now he gets to build bodies for said sparks, and he's using the dinosaurs as inspiration. I feel like this is how we get to Dinobots. Now, whether that is accurate or not, I have no idea. We have no idea what the red glowies are. We have not seen them yet. Suffice to say, Wheeljack does get airlifted all the way to base, where Arkeville has been using bits of Onslaught to keep him on life support. Wheeljack ain't happy about Decepticon parts rebuilding Autobots. It's... okay. For starters, there's a little tinge of racism to that. Just saying, because you're all Cybertronian. Organ donors shouldn't matter here. 2, you were using Teletran 1 when Skywarp was still hardwired into it. And you weren't making a big fuss about Decepticon tech being inside Autobot tech back then. I understand it's a computer, not a living Cybertronian, but the point still stands. You didn't seem to have any issue with it before. Now it's a bad thing. Now it's a no-no. What does it matter? It keeps Shredhead alive. Shredhead would be dead right now if they didn't do it. So you know what? No, I can't. I don't even like saying this. I'm on Arkaville's side here. Arkaville's in the right here. He did what he needed to do to save Shredhead's life, and Wheeljack is just being a whiny little baby about it, and slightly racist. So, while Wheeljack is away, someone else has found the base. We actually touch on what happened to this desiccated Starscream. He has made his way all the way through the ocean, and he's walked all the way back to the chunk of Cybertron. And apparently, and I presume, going to find some means of restoring himself once he's there. Considering how psychotic he has looked since his revival here, I don't know if the whole Ulchtar thing that happened at the end of the Johnson run is going to stick. I feel like he's just going to be back to Starscream, and he might just be a little bit insane by the near-death experience and having to exist as a zombie here. So I'm not quite sure where they're going with this. What fascinates me is that we have so many stories going on right now about basically heavily damaged Transformers or body-shifted Transformers. So like a good example here is RC Magnus. So since the writing change, since the writing change, we have had a lot of characters change bodies. So we have Elita Prime, and we've had just plain old Optimus, and we also have RC Magnus. And we get to see her vehicle mode for the first time, and it's incredibly lame. I was hoping for a lot out of this, but no, we've completely forgotten the part where we've completely forgotten the part where she is supposed to have an Earth vehicle mode now, not her 1986 look. The artists and writers have scrapped that. They went back to her 86 look and just added a couple extra chunks to the side of it. I really think that looks incredibly lazy. And then just added a bunch of random guns to the top that are shown absolutely nowhere in a robot mode. I do not like this. This feels incredibly lazy. I was hoping for something way more interesting. They don't even have the vehicle mode right because it's a hover car, not her traditional one. Her 86 vehicle mode is not a hover car. I don't know if that is intentional by the writers to make that switch. If it is, fine. Otherwise, it feels like an error because this really just feels like we took the 80s. It feels like they took an RC toy and slapped a third-party upgrade kit on it and called it a day. And I think it is a really lame cop-out. We can't even keep the shape of her like little shoulder things consistent. Just saying. But I find it interesting that we've already had a lot of characters change body shape into completely new designs, and we're waiting on that for Megatron as well. And now we are set up to do the exact same for both Shredhead and Starscream, who are so heavily damaged, they could be rebuilt into very new shiny forms. And that doesn't even seem to be the only ones on the table. Who knows how the Dinobots are going to end up looking once they come about, if I am correct about that. It just feels like since the writing change, like Kirkman has just really been set on creating his own take on these characters. And storyline-wise, that's fine. But it feels like the entire cast is slowly being replaced. Like the major players of the cast are being replaced by brand new visual versions of them. And I'm not sure if that's done for the sake of actual story development or if it literally is just Kirkman like enforcing his own design on these. Because so far a lot of these redesigns have not hit me very well. Like boxy Elita with wings is not all that great as a prime upgrade. RC blended Magnus here is not all that great of an upgrade, especially seeing the vehicle mode. I'm a little bit disappointed. That's all I'm saying. I mentioned Megatron. So let's touch on him. He's still in his crystal waiting to come out. I almost wish this was like some weird branding with like one of those like blind box toys where you have to like chisel the toy out of the rock or something, and we could actually market this somehow. But no, Megatron's getting a reformatting, and again, it's a character that's just changing up shape. We're just waiting for the egg to crack. That's all. But we do mention that the Combaticons were after Energon, and because of the chaos, they failed to bring any home. So yeah, the Decepticons are about to be out of Energon. They are going to get desperate, which means they're going to get dangerous. Have fun with that. Let's see, what else can we touch on here? Oh, well, yeah, then there's like the story that interested me the most because it's about Thundercracker. So the whole reason why the aerial bots were not in range for Optimus to get an evac for Shredhead was because Thundercracker had taken them on an exploratory mission. So he had those visions when the Ark teleported of something else being on this planet. So the aerial bots volunteer to accompany him to investigate. And I like the camaraderie. You can actually tell Thundercracker is not used to having allies with like a level of like loyalty, camaraderie, actual concern for his well-being. So it's nice to see like Thundercracker like learning what, you know, a team is supposed to be here. And yeah, they fly him off. They fly with him off to the Arctic. Skywarp secretly gives chase, and this is like another one of those moments where you look at the story and go like, is this still a trap? Is this literally just like them trapping these the aerial bots like into an ambush? Is this still a long play by Thundercracker, and all those visions he claimed to see were literally just made up just for the sake of pulling this off? But no, he's on the up and up. He genuinely, you know, when Skywarp confronts him, he genuinely does not want to betray or hurt the aerial bots, which is, again, nice to see. So Skywarp and Thundercracker end up in a fight again. Thundercracker drops him with a sonic boom that makes the whole mountain shake, and then shows Cobra Law bursting out. The visions were true. What Thundercracker has been claiming this whole time was true. This was like the lingering thread in my head of like, that seems really weird for him to like come out and start screaming about monsters. It was super weird, but something he could have like invented in order to like throw Autobots off and eventually pull off this trap. But it's not a trap. This is real. Cobra Law is now in play. And that's where the books are going to end. Like on that sneak attack. And it's a fascinating play because number one, we have Thundercracker finding this new camaraderie with the aerial bots, which is great to see, but also it's going to make Skywarp re-question some things. Because like, his whole thing is that Thundercracker just lost his mind. Those things we saw didn't exist, and like really, like nothing on this planet is a threat to me. Well, the planet's got some secrets that just might be threatening to you. And we know from like the rest of the Energon universe announcements that a lot more of the Hasbro multiverse is going to be coming into this soon. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are going to be occurring. And I feel like this is one of those moments where Skywarp's going to have to reevaluate a few things. I don't know how long he's sticking around. I feel like he's just going to either... He's either going to give Thundercracker enough credit to stick behind and help him out, or he's just going to immediately bail and just leave him there. Either way, like I said, these are actually better paced books. We touched on a few of the stories that we're lingering on, but only for like a panel or a page. You know, we're not spending so long on them that, you know, we aren't really doing anything with them. Like, I feel like the delivery was far more effective here, right? So we know the progress Starscream's making. We know Megatron has made no progress. But just in one page, we know exactly where the Decepticons are at right now while we focus on what's going on with the Autobots. You know, we get some development with Shredhead, development with the aerial bots, and Thundercracker. We get the reveal of Cobra Law. Like, now it feels like there's story progression going on. These are a lot better paced books than the last few that I've looked at, and I would really hope that it continues. So, those are the reviews for episode issues 34 and 35. The book does seem to be getting better. I am genuinely curious about where it's to go. I'm not like excited like I was during the first run, but I'm definitely interested to see what comes next. So, with all that said, please let me know what you thought of the books down in the comment section below, and as always, I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.